Every morning, you perform the same ritual. You get out of bed, you feel exhausted, you head to the kitchen, you brew coffee, you take a sip, and before much time passes, you feel awake. Now let's consider a simple question. Is it the caffeine or is it the expectation? Clearly, caffeine does not act instantly the moment we drink it. It needs time to be digested, time to enter circulation, time to block adenosine receptors in the brain, and yet most people say they feel more alert right after the first sip, before the chemistry has fully intervened. So what changed in those first minutes? The molecule or the prediction? Caffeine works by blocking adenosine, which accumulates in your brain throughout the day and increases sleep pressure. Less adenosine activity means longer wakefulness. This is measurable. But biology rarely works alone. In controlled studies, when participants were served decaffeinated coffee and told it was regular coffee, they reported being more alert. Reaction times increased, perceived energy rose, focus improved. There is no caffeine, and yet something changed. If a substance keeps you awake, that makes sense. But if consciousness and belief wake you up, what exactly is happening there? The brain is not a structure that passively receives chemicals. It is a prediction engine. It constantly anticipates what will happen next and activates the body in advance. If stimulation is expected, arousal functions adjust. If focus is expected, attention networks realign. If energy is expected, dopamine pathways become more active. Expectation is not merely abstract. Belief leaves a biological trace. This is not limited to coffee. It appears in painkillers, in sports performance, in medicine. This phenomenon has a name: placebo. But placebo is often misunderstood. It sounds like deception, like a fake treatment. Yet placebo is not about being tricked. It is about the brain using past information to regulate present experience. When you drink coffee every morning, the ritual becomes a signal. The smell, the warmth, the sound of the machine. The brain learns the pattern. The pattern predicts stimulation. Prediction triggers preparation. By the time caffeine enters circulation, the nervous system may already have begun to shift. And this is where it becomes uncomfortable. If decaf can increase alertness, how much of your morning energy is chemical and how much is conditioned expectation? Let's be clear. Caffeine works, it blocks adenosine and increases alertness. But expectation works too. It activates dopamine, influences motivation, modulates attention. Two systems operate on top of each other, one molecular, one predictive, not separate. Interacting, think about tolerance. Frequent coffee drinkers need more caffeine over time to achieve the same effect. The brain adapts. Adenosine receptors increase, baseline shifts. Yet the ritual still matters. Even when the chemical effect weakens, expectation continues to trigger alertness cues. This suggests something important. What we call energy may not come solely from the molecule, but from the learned association. Now introduce the darker twin. Imagine someone tells you, "This coffee will make you anxious." Many people would feel more tense. Even if the caffeine dose hasn't changed, expectation amplifies experience. This is called nocebo. If you expect side effects, the likelihood of experiencing them increases. Heart rate speeds up, muscle tension rises, sweating changes. The experience is real, not imagined, constructed. This leads to a deeper question. How much of daily life is influenced by expectation? Pain works in a similar way. If you believe a pill will reduce pain, endorphins are released. If opioid receptors are blocked, the placebo effect disappears. Belief binds to receptors. It leaves a molecular footprint. Now consider something even more interesting. Open label placebo. You tell people directly this pill contains no active ingredient, and improvement still occurs. Because expectation does not require deception, it requires meaning. Understanding that the brain can regulate pain or alertness becomes part of the regulation itself. Information alters physiology. Now, step back. If expectation shapes alertness, what shapes expectation? Advertising, culture, identity, habit. If for years you have told yourself, I can't function without coffee, the brain integrates that narrative. Narratives guide prediction, and prediction guides chemistry. The brain evolved to reduce uncertainty. If stimulation is anticipated, it prepares. If fatigue is anticipated, it conserves. This means something important. Meaning is biological. The story you attach to coffee is not separate from the effect of coffee. But let's draw the boundary clearly. Decaf will not keep you awake for 24 hours. Belief cannot override extreme sleep deprivation forever. Biology has limits, and those limits matter. Without limits, science turns into mythology. Placebo can modulate. It cannot replace physics. Meaning can influence. It cannot erase chemistry. We assume we experience reality directly, but neuroscience suggests otherwise. We experience the brain's model of reality. Color is interpretation. Sound is interpretation. Fatigue is interpretation. Alertness is interpretation. If the model shifts, experience shifts. Your morning coffee is partly chemical, partly predictive, a collaboration between molecule and expectation. So the final question is not, does coffee wake you up? The real question is this. When you take that first sip, what activates first, the adenosine receptors or the prediction? And if prediction shapes alertness, what other areas of your life are quietly being adjusted according to your expectations?